Hey there, I'm coming live to you today talking about something you might have heard psychologists say to you quite a lot. We're just gonna have to sit with it. Try to sit with it. What does that actually really mean, sitting with it? And what's the it? So I'm going to be talking about that today. It's Valerie Ling, clinical psychologist and a director founder for the Center for Effective Living, bringing you a story about sitting with some difficult emotions that came after my live video yesterday. Last night I did a video on, what was it? Oh, ironically, it was about the growth mindset. I went live last night, did this video on the growth mindset, and right after that discovered that I was actually feeling some very strong things. Because it was at night and I was figuring out what to do with lighting, etc., I actually decided, I don't normally do this, but I actually decided to re-watch the video right after I'd done it. You know, usually I do a live and then I just click keep, just going with the philosophy of it's done, let's not be perfectionistic about this, let's be flexible, remember what the whole purpose of doing this is, and let it go. But no, this time around I actually rewatched the video. Bad idea. And as I rewatched the video, of course you never rewatch these things with a compassionate mind, do you? You tend to watch yourself with a critical mind. And so of course, being in that critical headspace, as I was watching it, all kinds of things were starting to pop to my mind. And I was noticing that I was actually starting to feel some compelling emotions, And then I was starting to come to some conclusions. I really hate that video. I really didn't like it. And then I started coming up with all kinds of things like, what are people going to think of me? Why am I bouncing around so much? I can't believe I had coffee when I know that I'm not supposed to have coffee, and what will they think, and all of this stuff. And so what I was going to do was to actually delete the video and start again. Other than the fact that some people had already watched it, I just believe that doing that was going to be inconsistent with the whole purpose of why I was doing these things. It's not like we get to delete segments of our life that we don't like and redo. No, we've just got to figure out, what am I going to do with this? So I started to be aware that while I was having these reactions, the biggest two emotions that I had was embarrassment. Interestingly enough, I had to figure where that one came out from. And yeah, just a sense of criticism for the video. So what I actually had to do was physically remove myself from the computer and the room, because the finger wanted to go delete, delete, delete. And I didn't do that. Now, I'm recognizing some strong emotions, and I've realized that the thing that I need to do is to sit with it. I've got to sit with these emotions. How did I come to that conclusion? There are some emotions that you might feel that they're not so overwhelming, where they're compelling you to actually ruminate and to keep rehearsing the negative scripts in your head, and where they're actually pushing you. You feel like your emotions are pushing you. Well, there are some emotions that they're not that intense. And likely because their emotions don't really come with a history, that they're not your old friends, the sticky emotions. So you might be able to wave them off and do some self-talk at that point in time. There's some emotions where you can actually just physically removing yourself from the situation short circuits the emotion, and you go and do something else, and you surf it out. So it basically, once you go and do another activity or a task or get on with another part of your life, the emotion eventually comes down to sort of a resting point. But there are some emotions, like the ones that I was experiencing yesterday, where anything I do, anything I try to engage, self-talk, reframe it, is kind of just adding fire to it. It's just going to blow the emotion up even more. And in those sorts of emotions, what you actually need to do is to not fight it and not engage with it, and actually what we call sit with it. So what is sitting with it? Sitting with an emotion or a difficult emotion basically means being very, very present in the midst of the emotion. Not trying to distract yourself, not trying to avoid yourself, but to acknowledge it. It's almost as if there's this unwanted guest in your room, and rather than trying to physically wrestle with them to throw them out of the room, you're actually sitting with them in the room and acknowledging, there you are, here you are. It is what it is. There's that emotion. You might try to identify a little bit of where that emotion came from. I am feeling embarrassment because I bounced around so much in my seat during that live video. What are my friends or what are people going to think? And that's it. You don't judge it, you don't evaluate it, you don't problem solve it. And as you're sitting with that emotion and being very present focused, you're actually allowing the emotion to just come to a settling point, and eventually knowing that when you do that, the volume or the intensity of that emotion will eventually start to mute and come down to a resting point. Now, in this particular instance, how I decided to sit with my emotion was to actually engage in some mindfulness. So when I'm really, really in need of mindfulness, because I'm not naturally a very still person, I actually have to rely on a coloring book, right? Which I greatly was suspicious of when these things first came out, greatly suspicious of it, but actually found to be very helpful. So I got out my coloring book last night, and of course, as I'm flipping through it, that little critical voice is popping up again, because I will tell you that because I struggle with being mindful at times, it's full of half-colored things, just like that. And then I'm saying to myself, oh my gosh, you can't even do mindfulness well. You know, you can't even sit down and finish a coloring piece. So what I decided to do was I was going to acknowledge, yes, I acknowledge that there are times I struggle with mindfulness, but that was not the point of the exercise today. And I decided to go with an image that instantly grabbed me, and I didn't know why it grabbed me, and I wasn't going to try to figure it out, but I just went with an image that instantly grabbed me. And that image was actually an image of a butterfly, and there are lots of, I'm not aware of it at that point in time, but I will tell you, I think, why I was gravitated to it and how it helped me in my mindfulness. And so as I'm coloring, I'm actually acknowledging the emotions. I'm acknowledging, yep, there's that embarrassment. Yep, there's that disgust. Yep, there's that critical voice. There it is. Keep moving, keep coloring. And the more I'm actually being mindful about my emotions, and the more I'm actually switching on to that mode, I am equally becoming present in the task. Now that is different from just trying to distract yourself, coloring in and saying, don't think about it, don't think about it, don't think about it, don't think about it, don't think about it. Because what's actually happening, I'm not actually focusing on the coloring, and I'm actually thinking about it, right? So instead, I'm aware, I'm acknowledging the emotion, as well as becoming more and more aware of the activity I'm in. And as I'm actually doing this activity, I'm starting to actually realize just how attractive some of the colors are. I have a set of pencils that I especially bought because I like the way it feels on the page. I love the smoothness of it. And I'm actually getting more and more absorbed into just the sheer pleasure of the feeling of the pencil on the page, the way the colors are starting to pop, tracing the curves of the image. And every time the thought comes up, go delete the video, you need to delete the video, I just acknowledge it and I return to my task and keep moving along. And you know what, as I'm going along, those emotions, I'm starting to notice that they're actually having less and less of a grip. Because why? Some other emotions are now coming to my awareness. I'm enjoying what I'm doing. I'm visually being, the aesthetics are actually bringing about a sense of deliciousness. It's actually quite delicious when you get wrapped up in different colors. I'm actually noticing that my body is starting to relax into the seat, and so I keep going. So what I actually then finished with was this. Let me see if I can show you. Oh, look at my butterfly. Right. my text there is reversed, but you can see what I've written there is actually release. As I'm actually coloring in, a word is starting to pop into my head as I'm becoming more and more aware of the emotions of pleasure and joy as I'm coloring in. And as I'm exhaling and I'm recognizing my breath, I connect it to a word which is release. Let it go. Release. Right? Release. And so now, more and more as I'm coloring, I'm actually saying the word in my mind and breathing. Release. And as I finish the picture and I look at it, and it dawns upon me that the thing that attracted me to the butterfly is just that feel that you know, it's symbolic, right? I've seen a few butterflies this week, I think, in cards and in different ways, and I've been thinking about the symbolism of a butterfly. But there's this idea of a cocoon, right? Something goes into a cocoon, and in and of itself, it doesn't look particularly appealing, and it's sheltered and it's covered. But out of that emerges a butterfly that actually not only is beautiful, but is free and flutters and is released. And then I become aware that that's exactly what I was trying to achieve, actually, even though I wasn't setting out to do that, is really to bring those emotions, to sit with it, and to eventually have a sense of release, and it's gone. So that was my experience yesterday. The psych hack that I'm sharing with you is this thing called Sit With It, and added to that is just an example of a mindfulness exercise that actually helped me with my own strong emotions yesterday. Happy Friday, everybody.